Hey gang, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but had some shit go down over the months and stayed off grid for a while. Number of reasons. One, I just didn't have the energy to really sink forth into the community. I did a lot of diving within and had my days and struggles and trials and tribulations this year. One thing I wanted to speak about today is what we're facing, what we're in the midst of, and shamanism. Shamanism and a couple of things that I've had happen to me over the past year that kind of has given me a new perspective of shamanism and what shamans are and their history, their story. Now, I have a family history of diabetes. That shit caught up with me this year. I ended up having to deal with some diabetic stuff, and my blood sugar was astronomical. Got up to 1,077 when I went into the hospital. I actually started getting blurred visions, all of the things that you would expect to get as a diabetic, the blurred visions, very thirsty, peeing all the time. These symptoms hit me before I ended up going into a medical center and getting checked out. I asked him, hey, I think I got diabetes. Can you check me out for that? And sure enough, I was 1,077 when I walked in there. You ideally want to be around like 145 or so. So to say I was over 1,000, they say I shouldn't even been walking around in there, let alone being alive. Now, I cough that up to, like that's just me. It's badass shit, that's what I do. But I've tried to take care of it through diet, through not eating carbs. So essentially what you do when you eat sugars or carbs, any, starches, any rice, any noodles, macaroni and cheese, you know what I mean, mashed potatoes, sweet tea, all of these things are carbs, spike up your blood sugar. What you want to do is you want to eliminate all of that, essentially eat keto, right? You're eating a keto diet. Unfortunately, doing that, I ended up losing 20 pounds and was like the lightest that I've been since I was a teenager. Ended up getting some kind of bacterial infection for my birthday the other day, and after a couple of days, like I would normally just fight that off and bounce right back. Well, puking a couple of times, it just took everything out of me because I don't have any reserves left. So I was pushed to this point where my mom had to do her motherly instinct thing and actually call the sheriff to come out and check on me. Now, I live in Georgia, mind you, so she's calling from California. So, that was pretty neat that worked out the way that it did. It saved my ass. It sure did. Because I was out of it. I mean, I was like blackout in a situation where that alter ego that takes over when I'm blacked out in the past, it has come on through certain situations that triggered me angrily. It was like Hulk smash type of fucking blackout. I had one of those at one point years back. This was when I was a teenager. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Had it happen through alcohol, through drinking too much, blacking out. And this was actually caused because of health reasons, Now, when I look at the story of Shaman, you go through Shaman sickness, and then you start, seeing the other side. You essentially have one foot in the spirit realm and one in this realm. And when you run into a stage where you're kind of on the verge of death. I mean, it's one of those things that trigger you into this stuff. So you have these moments where you're dreaming, where you're seeing things, where you're essentially delusional because your blood sugar is so high, or you are essentially so sick that you're seeing things, you're on the other side. This is what generally triggers a shaman into becoming one. You hear about a shaman generally will inherit his or her skills or manifestations from previous generations. When I experience this whole diabetic, coma and fucking all of the above, all of these, tripping on like high blood sugar is very similar to tripping on shrooms and acid or ayahuasca. You're essentially putting yourself into a state of mind, a state of being that you are on the verge of death, if you will. You're speaking to death. And that's what you do in a sense, being a shaman. What happens sometimes is you trigger past lives, and you see your past lives, you experience those past lives, and you also go through this state that I can liken to the Avatar state, the Last Airbender, that cartoon. Your Avatar state is essentially your ego, your true self, coming out all in one. We do our best to keep that in the back of our minds, right? We put off this facade to the public. These people, look here, this is the this and this is the that. We do things in black and white and yes and no, and we put things in these little categories, right? But when it's all said and done, there is no this and that. There is no here or there. Everything is a cycle. Everything is a flow. Everything is a harmonic balance. You have vibrations, you have frequencies, and they're always moving in and out, up and down to one degree or another. So when you have something taking place, you like to put it in some category, some here and there, some black or white. But in all honesty, you're just looking at a certain part of the equation. You're not looking at the grand scheme of things. You're not looking at the whole season. You're trying to see summer and place a day on it. But it all flows. It all travels. It all vibrates. When we detach ourselves from this human experience, from what we label as here or there or this or that, or try to put a time stamp on it, when we travel outside of the typical daily routine, and we walk outside of that spectrum, we are essentially tuning into a different radio station, different frequency, and we as human beings were able to perceive certain things. There are other energies, other frequencies, other vibrations that are happening all around us that we aren't tapped into because we don't have the capability. So dogs will hear things that we don't hear. There's ultraviolet, there's infrared. We have apparatuses that can see these things, so we know that they exist. We know that they're there. But for us, in order to grasp, to hear, to see, to capture those outside spectrums, we need to have a particular delivery system. Some people are capable of doing it naturally through diabetes, through plant medicines, through sweat lodges, through meditations, to unlocking your third eye. Sometimes it just frequently happens, you know, while you're walking down, you get an epiphany and you get a vision. Whichever your delivery method is, what you're doing is you are tuning your radio station into a particular frequency that you're not typically a part of. Now, there is the channel, the Akash channel, okay? So you can tap into essentially all the knowledge that ever has been and ever will be. You can tap into the all, to God, if you will. The all is all of the information, all of the vibrations, all of the frequencies, everything you could imagine, see, touch, taste, feel, or hear. All of that is the all, is the cosmos, is God. Whichever label you want to put it on, that is what we are all of. We are all of this great cosmic ocean. We are each individual little droplets flowing all through the great cosmic ocean. And you and I, we have the ability to have this experience. We are essentially a fingertip of the all. An eyelash, if you will, an extremity to experience, to feel, to taste, to touch, to experience. That's what we're here to do, to add more information to the Akash. When you are put here on this planet in this day and age, in this particular time, you're essentially a cog in the wheelworks. You are here for a particular reason. Now, as long as you continue to flow your vibration the way that you're meant to turn, to be that gear, that mechanism that you're sent here to be, as long as you are on par with that, you have an amazing life. You feel good. You walk through with a smile on your face. You're constantly bettering yourself, becoming more, experiencing, upgrading, okay? You're building upon building blocks. You are essentially Legos, and no matter how many times you're broken, you can always be rebuilt each day. Each day you get broken down. Each day you get built back up again. It's all a matter of you and your perspective, okay? It's how you perceive things. It's the radio station you choose to tap into. When you are a shaman, what we're doing, in a sense, is changing that dial, is moving from station to station, being able to observe the ebb and flow of the stations working in harmony with one another. Now, we have 12 dimensions in this reality that we have perceived ourselves in. Now, we are, in a sense, moving in and through the third, fourth, fifth dimension, and now as we move through them on our daily routines, we have this here and there, this up or down, this feeling of every particular moment that is good or bad, bad or evil, you know, black or white, right or left, however you want to say. We like to put things in categories. We like to put timestamps on things. But once again, it's all flow, vibration, harmony with other molecules vibrating around us. When you are water, like we are essentially water, we're made up of water. The water you put into a cup, it becomes the cup, right? If water comes into you, it becomes the you. If you become into a room, you become the room. You are water. You need to flow. You need to become the room. You need to become the trees. You need to become the situation you find yourself in. What you're doing is you're flowing with the system and becoming one with the all. You're doing what you're here to do. When you separate yourself from that, you put yourself in a state of unbalance and unharmony. In a sense, you put yourself through hell. When you are outside of the timeline, the vibration that you are essentially sent to be on board with, there's something not right here. Okay, you never quite can put your finger on it, but something is not right here. What we've got going on today is a situation like that. 2020 has been a reflection of my inner turmoil, and when you have problems with your inner flow and your inner works, then you're going to have an outer works, an outer reality that is reflective of your inner struggles and turmoils and inner demons and what have you. I have had a struggle this year, and each time I look at what's going on around me, it's a reflection of what's going on inside. So what I'm going to do in this particular video, not only explain to you guys on how, in a sense, we're connected to this all, and how to, in a nutshell, say what's going on here in layman's terms, explain what shamanism is, and I'd like to think that, I gave a pretty good explanation on that, and also what is happening as far as the politics of the world, the energies, what's going on in today's frequencies. Now, in a sense, the last 4 years has been a build-up in order to decouple the United States from the monetary system that is the petrodollar. The Rothschild banking cartel, in a sense, has owned the monetary system of the world for hundreds of years now. America used to be in a position where it created its own currency, therefore it was, in a sense, its own nation. It's not tied to Europe and to Asia and through all of these big banking cartels, because it has means of producing its own wealth, right? Well, because of the Federal Reserve banking system, because of it being tied to not the gold standard but the petrodollar, essentially foreign oil all overseas that has been in the hands of the Rothschild banking cartels, in a sense the European companies that they use in order to essentially have funds flow through other means that isn't underneath, the Rothschild banking cartel system. What you have going on right now is a decoupling from that system, from the petrodollar. So instead of the dollar being worth something because we're trading in, say, Saudi oil or Iraqi oil or oil that is overseas, not in Americans' hands, right? Not Texas oil, not Pennsylvania oil, not South Dakota oil, not Alaskan oil, y'all, because you've seen dependence on foreign oil is a thing of the past. Now, over the last few years, oil is not tied into the dollar. The petrodollar has totally died, okay? That's done. At this stage, we're decoupling from that whole Federal Reserve note system, and we're going to get back into a means of paper currency that is coined, weights and measures, if you will, by the Congress, by we the people in this country. Now, what makes money worth something is a commodity. So dollars could be traded back in the day for ounces of gold. That went away in the 70s and becomes oil becomes Saudi oil. So instead of you turning your Federal Reserve note into ounces of gold, now you can turn it into Saudi oil. And that was essentially the system all the way up into today. Now we don't rely on foreign oil, we have our own oil. So in a sense, the dollar is kind of backed by our own oil that we pump out of the ground in this country by the individual companies that run American oil, not Shell, not the Dutch, not the French, not Chevron, not BP, not British Petroleum. You're looking at all of that going away, and you're seeing things like Quick Trips and Miller Petros, and the American-owned oil companies are selling you gas for a lot cheaper, as you might find. It's always under $2 a fucking gallon now. Oddly enough, we also are seeing a decline in emissions in America. Not because of fuel, because of gasoline, but because of natural gas. We're seeing far more natural gas and far less coal and far less other fossil fuels. Now, what that's doing is it's a lot cleaner burning energy. So in return, a lot less noxious gases being pumped into the atmosphere. When you look at the Paris Accord Agreement, we're far under what we were saying we are going to be a part of in there. So you're getting the best of both worlds. Not only are we capable of producing our own energy here, which decouples us from a system of control, we're putting means of money back into our hands. Now, one of the other things that they have done over the last few years, as far as behind closed doors executive orders, different bills that have been passed, like the Mexico and Canada agreement, if you will, instead of NAFTA. Essentially what that does is it makes commodities that is produced here in America something that is of value and currency to another country. So Canada and Mexico, Japan, they're all trading us for our commodities now. Our pecans, our corn, our soy, our dairy, our cheese, our milk, all that stuff, our eggs. We're shipping tons of chicken and beef. All of these things are essentially being able to, you trade these American dollars you have for food, for energy, for commodities, right? What that does is it strengthens the dollar. So what we're doing is we're putting a system in play before we break away from the Federal Reserve note, right? So the Ron Paul and the Fed, I have been paying attention to politics because of Ron Paul. I understand how currency, how the monetary system works because of Ron Paul. So when you look all the way back to the starts of this stuff, we're getting all of the things that he was trying to implement and trying to push for, but has been taken good 10, 12 plus years to implement. But we're seeing all this stuff being done by a gentleman by the name of Donald John Trump. You guys don't appreciate that their presidential name, but if you eliminate the name, and if you just look at policy that has taken place over the last 4 years, you're going to see a huge difference than what has been going on for the last, say, 40 some odd years since World War II. He has been the first president that has not entered us in a new war in 40 plus years, right? We have actually got out of wars. So not only have we not gotten ourselves involved in any other foreign entanglements across overseas or even just across the border, say in Canada or Mexico or what have you. Not only have we cleaned up our acts as far as that goes, as far as keeping our nose out of other people's businesses, like Ron Paul preached back in the day, heaven forbid, you're going to be an isolationist if you do that. You're going to let other countries rule themselves, you isolationists. Those are terrible policies. No, they tend to work out. None of our troops are over there being killed. None of them are coming home with PTSD. None of them are committing suicide because they watched their homeboy blow up in front of them and had pieces of them scattered all over them. They didn't see a little kid pick up a grenade and throw it over their way and watch him take out a fucking half of a platoon after he got gunned down by one of his fellow fucking Marines. Nope, he didn't get to experience that. Why? Because we're not the fuck over there doing none of that stupid shit. That's why. That's a good policy. It doesn't matter who the fuck is in office doing that shit. That is something that I vote for. Another few things that have taken place, all the things that essentially hold you back from owning your own business. You're seeing all these stipulations and all this stuff coming in place with the pandemic, you know? Everyone's needing to wear a face covering. No one's able to have maximum capacity in the restaurants. You can only have 25% of the people. So you only get roughly 25% of the business, maybe, if you get that. You got all these regulations and red tapes that you had to work through throughout the years. Now, that all went away. You saw a huge boom in small businesses, people opening up new businesses because it's easier, because there's not all this red tape you have to go through. All the while comes this coronavirus pandemic. Now, let's face it. The flu is dangerous, okay? The flu gets people sick. The flu gets people dead. But when you really pump it out there, all y'all are gonna die from the flu. When you really start, causing a conundrum about it, and you start, having your paid programming, right? Whenever you go and you go to these news outlets, these mainstream media, it's all paid programming. They are essentially paid by organizations in order to run things during that news hour. So you are essentially watching entertainment. You're not watching the news. Unless you're really going out there and seeking for yourself your information, you're not getting news, y'all. You're getting entertained. You're getting an entertainment package. You have to purchase your entertainment package from your cable company. You have to watch commercials because today's paid programming is brought to you by such and such. It's called paid programming for a reason. Somebody paid to have you programmed. You are programmed to go out and to buy these particular items because the TV said so, because Ellen DeGeneres said so, because Oprah Winfrey said so. These people are fucking paid to say these things. All the while you think, oh, those people are on TV. It's got to be truth. It's got to be gospel. Are you seeking this information? Are you seeking it, or is it being fed to you? Are you being spoon-fed information, or are you going out there and being a savvy consumer? Are you being a savvy American, or are you being spoon-fed? Are you the typical sheeple, or are you a savvy consumer? Are you out there just buying whatever the hell the TV tells you to buy, or are you purchasing things that you put forth an effort into researching to seeing if that's something that your life really needs? Probably the latter. America has become the home of the bought and sold, not the home of the brave, the home of the bought and sold. What makes you somebody is having the shiniest thing, the biggest house, the fastest car. The shiniest thing is what makes you you. Not having a true and tried soul, not somebody that walks the path of righteousness, not somebody that speaks the truth, not somebody that goes out and does the thing that they are here to do, that particular cog in the works, in the all that you are here to do. No, it's how many shiny things you have. Do I get to really understand what everyone sees out there, their perspective. No, of course not. I try my damnedest to look at all sides of all aspects of things, because in order to be somebody that enjoys the show as much as me, I like to see all the cast of characters. I like to get to meet all of the people that are putting on this show. This world that we are facing today is in a sense a theatric, just a show for you and me. It's being put on for us. We change the dial, we change the vibration, we change the station, we change the show. We get to watch what we want to watch. That's the easiest way that I can tell you as far as manifestation goes, as far as changing your reality, as far as breaking away from what they want you to perceive as reality. Once you break away from that, once you become a part of the all again, Jesus was saying the same thing at that stage. Stop listening to what man is telling you and listen to what God is telling you. Listen to what the nature around you in that particular moment is telling you. Stop and listen, because everything is steering you into a particular direction. When you break away from what humans are trying to steer you into believing, and what everything that nature and what reality is pushing you into believing, you're going to see that you jump into this different frequency, this different reality, this different timeline. When we are born with certain gifts and certain curses. Diabetes is a curse, but it's also a gift in some way. Some folks don't look at it like that, because all the while they tell you, take this medicine, don't ever let this happen, and you don't ever experience these mind-altering situations, and they don't open these doors for you to unlock other things in your life, in your future, in your past. I got to see who I was in past realities. Somebody pretty grand in some of those realities. And a number of them, some pretty, like, I've been given a bad name. I've been called in previous life Azazel, Ares, Prometheus, the god of war, if you will, right? I essentially taught human beings the art of fire. Originally, I was the head of the armada for the Pleiadians that first came to here and terraformed this earth. That's where I tap into my Pleiadian world. I fell with men because I taught you how to defend yourself in my previous life. I'm a human today and been a human thousands of different times. Experienced different life forms prior to this human life. And the fun thing tapping into all of that and to feeling like, wow, I've been on the very highest echelon of life on this planet, and I have also been in some of the lowest, the peons of the peons of the human world. We have this ego, this alter reality that we can tap into that we find ourselves in the dream state, in our previous worlds, our previous lives. The interesting thing that I'm discovering in this present life is, in this here and now, it is up to us, it is up to me to forgive all of those past lives, to accept the closing of glories and grand days of past. When you look at yourself in the state of the avatar state, we can tap into all of those previous lives. But for an example, Aang, the last airbender, he was a young kid, completely different from all of his previous lives. And although he could meditate and tap into those previous lives, he was there to live this life. This life is Aang, the last airbender. Somebody that had been in hibernation for 100 years. So even outside of their timeline, their timestamp, somebody that had to accept how grandiose they are and yet how small they are in the world. The cycle that they need to continue being a part of, and yet being something completely different, somebody completely different. And I'm here to tell you, it's not about fighting the war. It's not about being on one side or the other and defending yourself or not defending yourself. There is a way in Buddhism. There are so many people that have been killed throughout history in that particular culture. In, say, Tibet, for instance, they have been raped and pillaged. Their culture has been pushed to the brink of extinction, and yet they still smile, yet they still love, yet they still heal, yet they still hold tranquility and harmony. This is what we need to learn from. This is a lesson we need to learn, is to not fight the war anymore. There is no war. There is no here and there. There is no black or white. There is no good and evil. It is all a cycle. And we become that cycle. We become that cup. We become that room. We are water, we are vibration, we are flow. Now, we are winning right now. You may think that the enemy is at hand, the enemy is beating us, the dark forces are overcoming right now. No, that's not the case. What we need to do is unveil what is happening to the everyday American, to the people that are looking for the convenient truth. There's no convenient truths anymore, and there's no individual truth. There are all so many different truths out there to be had, just as there's so many different individuals. So you're going to find so many different individual truths. And what we need to do, instead of showing these individuals truths that are convenient, we need to let them discover their own individual truth. And that's what's happening right now. It's becoming so aware that these people become self-aware. These inglorious times, 2020, all this dark shit that you're seeing take place, is happening so even the most simple person can understand what's going on. We are great at pattern recognition, and we see something is not right here. The patterns do not match up. We see that there is falsehoods being fed to us, okay? We are being fed shit news. We are being fed shit geopolitics, right? We need to just throw away all the names for the time being and just look for a moment at policy, look at information, look for truths. Get away all your bias, all your hatreds, and all of your untruths. Go and seek truth. Seek reality. Seek gospel information. When you stop listening to others and outside sources and seek your own information and look at the patterns, you guys, pattern recognition. That's how you understand truth. That's how you understand when you're being fucked. That's how you understand you're being lied to. This is Brian Gregory Aycock coming at you with some truths, with some means of fishing. I'm not trying to give you your daily fish. I'm trying to teach you how to fish. That's what you want to do. You want to learn how to fish. You don't want to be given the fish each day. So go out there and seek information and truths for yourself, because right now is the age of information. Right now we have had these energy shifts take place, and I have actually put forth my energy through the last year, from the shadows, from my little hole in the walls, doing what I need to do in order to manipulate the system. This is my cosmos, if you will. This is my world. And I'm the one that changes the dial here. I've had a fair share of shit happen. And right about now is when we change the dial back into the radio station that is for you and me to tune into. Not for them, but for us. Because we are in control here. We are the winners. We are winning. Winning. And for you to continue to go out there and to lie to yourself is not the answer. You are today breaking free from the system. You are learning how to break free of control. All of human existence, we have been, in a sense, in these binders, if you will. These blinders are keeping us from seeing what really is going on in the world. It is limiting our perspective, because perspective is reality. When you change your perspective, you are changing your reality. You are changing the radio station. You have the power to do this. Now, some of us are sent here to smack you in the back of the head because some of us need to do that. Some of us need that smack in the back of the head. I'm pretty sure that I've needed it at least a handful of times in my life. And I appreciate the people that have been sent here in order to do so. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass, and I am damn well one of those pains in the asses. I'm going to tell you that. I have been a big pain in the ass to a lot of my peoples, and I'm going to continue to do so. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just moves from one form to another. Now, you and I are essentially energy wielders. We have the ability to wield energy from one form to another. That's what shamanism is all about. So when you look at the world today, when you look at manifesting something to create your own reality, what you're doing is you are changing that radio station. You're changing that dial, that frequency, that tune, that inner self, if you will. You are changing your inner peace, your inner guidelines, your inner timeline. You are changing your perspective. What that does is, in return, changes what's going on around you, because what you perceive going on around you is all a matter of your perspective. This is a little bit of information I wanted to share today. I wanted to touch back and I wanted to give you a little bit of encouragement. There's lots of great things happening right now, and this world is changing for the better as long as you perceive it in that fashion. If you continue to walk through the world and you see shit, you're going to get shit on. If you walk through the world and you see beauty, you're going to feel beauty. Beauty is going to find you each and every day. You're going to smile, and the world is going to smile right back at you. That's exactly how this is going to happen. As long as you understand it's all a matter of perspective, right? So I want you to know that you are the winners, and as long as you're smiling, as long as you're giving your heart to the world, as long as you are loving, and as long as you are warm and open to the world is going to be warm and open to you. Humanity is going to be something worth acknowledging, worth getting to know, worth saving, worth falling with. I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again, and I will do it again. And it's one of those things where all of us will continue to do this as long as we want, because this is the greatest show out there. This reality, this experience, this here and now, this being able to touch and to feel and to manifest our reality is second to none. It's nothing like the other frequencies. To be able to have the reality, to have the 3D, to have the 5D. Oh, it's great. And we need to understand that this is a blessing. Please go out there and seek some truths. And I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to get with you guys. I needed to find myself again. I've lost a lot, and I've given up a lot, and I had to understand that just because I'm experiencing new doesn't mean that I'm entering into a dark state. This new is a better state. It's an even more enlightened state. It's to where we are expanding, are upgrading, are becoming the next level, the next generation, the next form of consciousness, the next step of evolution. I enjoyed speaking to you guys today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Take care. I love you so much. And